Hey guys, tonight we're going to slow things down and sit with a story that matters. Meet Angela Hayes, a 48-year-old black woman whose quiet strength hides a legacy of triumph. She built a jewelry empire from nothing, only to face the sting of prejudice in her own store. This is a tale of dignity, resilience, and justice unfolding on the glittering stage of Rodeo Drive. Before we begin, please like the video and subscribe, but only if stories like this truly move you. Comment your city and the time you're watching. Now close your eyes or don't, it's your choice. Either way, you're about to witness something real. The glass doors of Luminary Gems, the crown jewel of Rodeo Drive, slide open with a whisper, admitting Angela Hayes into a world of opulence. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light across white marble floors, and display cases gleam with diamonds that pulse like captured stars. The air hums with the soft clink of champagne flutes and the murmur of wealth, a symphony of privilege in Beverly Hills' heart. Angela, dressed in a simple navy blazer, impressed Slacks moves with deliberate grace. Her silver locket, a worn heirloom from her grandmother, rests against her chest, its faint scratches a testament to battles fought and won. At 48, her face carries the lines of a life shaped by resilience, her dark eyes sharp with unspoken wisdom. She is no stranger to this store. She designed its very soul. Yet today she is a ghost, unrecognized, her presence a quiet test of the empire she built. Angela pauses near the central display, where the celestial collection sparkles under custom lighting. Necklaces worth millions drape over velvet, each gem a story of craftsmanship she once sketched on a diner napkin in Atlanta decades ago, when dreams were all she had. Her fingers brush the locket, a reflex, as she recalls her grandmother's voice. "Hold your head high, Angie. You're worth more than they'll ever know." She's here to ensure that worth is honored, not just for herself, but for every soul who steps through these doors. Her unannounced visits are legend among Luminary staff, though few expect the CEO to arrive in a faded 2006 Honda Civic parked humbly among Bentleys and Porsches. The showroom buzzes with activity. A white couple in tailored suits sips champagne, their laughter bright as they admire a diamond bracelet. A sales associate, young and eager, hovers nearby, her smile practiced. But Angela feels the shift in the air, a subtle chill as Margaret Voss, the store manager, locks eyes with her from across the room. Margaret, 52. Her blonde hair swept into a flawless chignon exudes authority in a crisp designer dress. Her gaze is a blade slicing over Angela's modest attire blazer, no designer label, flats, no heels, no entourage. To Margaret, Angela is an anomaly, a disruption in the curated elegance of Luminary Gems. She crosses the marble floor, her heels clicking like a metronome, and stops a calculated distance away. "Can I help you?" Margaret's voice is polite but edged with frost, each syllable a challenge. Her blue eyes narrow, scanning Angela from head to toe, lingering on the locket as if it's an offense to the store's grandeur. Angela meets her stare, her expression calm but unyielding, a quiet storm gathering beneath her composure. "I'd like to see the celestial collection." She says, her tone soft yet precise, betraying a knowledge of jewelry that should raise questions. But Margaret's lips curl into a thin smile, dismissive. "That's our premier collection. It's reserved for select clients. Perhaps you'd prefer our fashion line, more accessible pieces." The word accessible lands like a slap laced with assumptions about Angela's race and means. Angela's hands clench briefly, the locket cool against her palm, but she holds her silence. She knows this dance, the sidelong glances, the veiled insults, the weight of being deemed less than in spaces meant to dazzle. Growing up in a modest Atlanta suburb, she endured it in department stores and classrooms, at diner counters, where she worked double shifts to fund her dreams. Each rejection forged her not into bitterness, but into a resolve as unyielding as the diamonds around her. She built Luminary Gems to be a sanctuary, a place where no one would feel the sting of exclusion. Yet here in her own store, that vision is unraveling. Margaret turns away, her attention snapping to the white couple, her smile now radiant. "Mr. and Mrs. Langley," what a pleasure, she calls, gliding toward them, leaving Angela stranded by the display. The couple beams, basking in Margaret's warmth, oblivious to the scene unfolding. Angela stands alone, her shadow stretching long across the polished floor, heavy with unspoken resolve. Employees glance her way. Lila Tran, a young Asian sales associate, hesitates, her notepad clutched tightly. Marcus Reed, the black security guard, shifts uneasily, his jaw tight. They sense the wrongness, but Margaret's authority looms like a storm cloud, silencing dissent. Angela steps closer to the celestial collection, her eyes tracing a necklace she designed, its diamonds arranged like a constellation. She recalls sleepless nights sketching by candlelight when power bills went unpaid, her grandmother's locket her only companion. That locket, now a motif of her endurance, grounds her as Margaret's voice cuts through again. "Excuse me, ma'am, you need to step back. That area is for serious buyers only." The words are louder now, drawing curious stares from customers. Angela's heart aches not for herself, but for the betrayal of her store's promise. "I'm just looking," she replies, her voice steady, though a quiet tremor betrays her hurt. Margaret scoffs, folding her arms. "Looking doesn't pay for security. If you're not buying, I'll have to ask you to leave." The room quiets, the air thick with tension. Lila's eyes widen, her pen frozen mid-note. Marcus steps closer, his presence a silent question, but Margaret waves him off. "Stay put, Marcus. I handle this." Angela's gaze locks with Margaret's, a spark of defiance beneath her calm. She could walk away as she did in her youth, but not today. Not here, where her legacy stands on trial. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. She touches her locket, its weight a reminder of who she is, and takes a breath. The storm is coming, and she will not flinch. The injustice stings sharp and familiar, but Angela's silence is her armor. She watches Margaret fawn over the Langleys, offering them velvet seats and chilled drinks, while she, the store's creator, is reduced to an outsider. The cultural weight of Rodeo Drive, where wealth and whiteness often dictate worth, presses against her, but Angela stands taller. Her empire was built to defy such gatekeeping, to welcome all who dream of beauty. Yet Margaret's prejudice threatens to tarnish that vision, a betrayal that cuts deeper than any personal slight. As customers whisper and employees avert their eyes, Angela's resolve hardens. This is not just her fight, it's for every person who's been dismissed, their worth unseen. The locket warms against her skin, a beacon of her grandmother's faith, and she knows this moment will shift everything. The air in Luminary Gems grows heavier, as if the chandeliers themselves are holding their breath. Angela Hayes stands by the celestial collection. Her navy blazer is a stark contrast to the glittering opulence of Rodeo Drive's crown jewel. The marble floor reflects her silhouette, a solitary figure amid the sparkle, her silver locket catching the golden light like a quiet rebellion. Margaret Voss, the store manager, has returned to her post near the VIP section, her sharp eyes flicking toward Angela with a mix of irritation and disdain. The injustice from moments ago lingers, a wound reopened, but Angela's face remains composed, her dark eye burning with a restrained fire. She knows this moment is a test not just of her, but of the values she wove into every facet of Luminary Gems. Margaret's voice, now laced with a performative sweetness, carries across the showroom as she tends to mirror Mrs. Langley. "This diamond pendant is divine for your gala, Mrs. Langley," she purrs, holding up a piece worth 6 figures. The couple nods, their smiles indulgent, oblivious to the tension coiling nearby. Angela, still by the display case, traces the outline of a celestial necklace with her gaze, its design a memory of her early days, when she sold her first piece from a folding table at a community fair. That memory grounds her, but the sting of Margaret's earlier dismissal, "Looking doesn't pay for security," cuts deeper with each passing second. It's not just personal. It's a betrayal of the sanctuary she built where no one should feel less than. Sure. Margaret glances at Angela, her lips tightening. She strides over heels, clicking like a countdown. "Ma'am, I've asked you to step back," she says, her tone sharper now, loud enough to draw stares. "This isn't a museum. If you're not a serious buyer, you're wasting our time." The words land like a public verdict, rooted in assumptions about Angela's race and modest attire. Angela's hands clench briefly, the locket cool against her palm, but she meets Margaret's gaze with unnerving calm. "I'm interested in the celestial necklace," she says, her voice steady, laced with a quiet authority that Margaret misses. "I'd like to know about its craftsmanship." The request is professional, precise, but Margaret scoffs, folding her arms. "Craftsmanship? That's for clients with appointments. I'll need to see proof of funds first." The room stills, the hum of wealth interrupted. Lila Tran, the young sales associate, grips her notepad, her knuckles paling. She's seen Margaret's coldness before, directed at customers of color, at staff who don't fit her mold. But this feels different. A line crossed. Marcus Reed, the security guard, shifts his weight, his jaw tight, his eyes flicking between Angela and Margaret. He knows Luminary's policies: no customer should face such scrutiny without cause. But Margaret's authority is a shadow over the staff, her disapproval a threat to their jobs. Angela feels their unease, a silent chorus of witnesses to an injustice they dare not name. Her heart aches not for herself, but for them, for every person who's swallowed their voice in the face of prejudice. Angela steps closer to the display, her movement deliberate, a challenge cloaked in grace. I understand your policies, she says, her voice soft but unyielding. But I'm here to buy. Show me the necklace. Margaret's eyes narrowed, her face flushing with a mix of anger and disbelief. You don't get it, do you? She snaps, her voice rising, drawing every eye in the store. This is Rodeo Drive, not a clearance sale. If you can't prove you belong here, I'll have security escort you out. The threat hangs heavy, a public shaming meant to break Angela's resolve. Customers whisper, some with pity, others with curiosity, their phones discreetly raised to capture the drama. Angela's breath catches, a flicker of hurt crossing her face, but she holds her ground. The locket warms against her chest, a reminder of her grandmother's words. Hold your head high, Angie. She thinks of her journey from Atlanta's modest streets, where she was turned away from stores like this, to building luminary gems with nothing but grit and vision. Each rejection, each slight forged her into a woman who doesn't bend. But this moment in her own store is a wound to her legacy. Margaret's prejudice isn't just personal, it's a violation of the promise Angela made to every customer to be seen, to be valued. Marcus steps forward, his presence a quiet question. Miss Voss, is this necessary? He asks, his voice low measured. Margaret whirls on him, her eyes blazing. Stay out of this, Marcus. Do your job or lose it. Her threat silences the room, a reminder of her power. Lila's pen trembles, her eyes brimming with unspoken outrage. Angela sees their fear, their hesitation, and it fuels her revival. She could reveal her identity now, end this charade, but she waits. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. She touches her locket again, its weight a promise of what's to come. This is not just her fight, it's for every employee silenced, every customer dismissed. Margaret's scorn escalates, her voice dripping with venom. You're causing a scene, she hisses, gesturing to Marcus. Get her out now. Angela's eyes flash a spark of defiance beneath her calm. I'm not leaving, she says, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. The words are simple, but they carry the weight of decades, years of being underestimated, of proving her worth against a world that often refused to see it. The showroom feels smaller, the chandelier's light harsher, as if the space itself is bracing for a reckoning. Customers lean closer, their whispers a low hum, sensing a shift they can't yet name. Angela's silence is her weapon, a quiet strength that unnerves Margaret. She stands taller, her shadow stretching across the marble, a figure of dignity amid the opulence. The cultural weight of Rodeo Drive, where wealth and whiteness often dictate value, presses against her. But Angela is no stranger to such battles. She thinks of her grandmother, who worked as a seamstress in Atlanta, her hands calloused, but her spirit unbroken, teaching Angela to carry herself with grace no matter the cost. That lesson lives in her now, in the way she holds Margaret's gaze, unflinching, even as the manager's prejudice lays bare the flaws in Luminary's culture. The injustice deepens, a slow burn that threatens to consume the store's promise. Margaret's refusal to serve Angela, her demand for proof of worth, echoes a broader truth in spaces like this. Certain faces are always suspect, certain voices always muted. Angela feels the weight of those truths, not just in her own heart, but in the nervous glances of Lila and Marcus, in the customers who watch but don't speak. Her empire was meant to break those barriers, to be a beacon of fairness. Yet here, under Margaret's reign, that vision is crumbling. Angela's fingers brush the locket, a gesture as natural as breathing. It's more than a keepsake, it's a symbol of her endurance, a motif tying her past to this moment. She thinks of the diner where she worked, saving pennies for her first gemstone, of the nights she studied business by lamplight, of the doors slammed in her face because of her skin. Each memory strengthens her, a reminder that she's faced worse than Margaret Voss and emerged whole. But this fight is different. It's not just about her, it's about the soul of Luminary Gems, about ensuring no one else feels the sting of being unseen. The tension coils tighter, a storm gathering in the showroom's gilded silence. Margaret's arrogance, Angela's resolve, and the staff's quiet unease collide, setting the stage for a truth that will shake these walls. Angela's heart beats steady, her locket a quiet pulse against her chest. She knows the moment is coming, the spark that will ignite everything. For now she waits, her silence a promise, her strength a beacon in the gathering dark. The Luminary Gem showroom pulses with an uneasy quiet, the golden light from crystal chandeliers casting long shadows across the marble floor. Angela Hayes stands near the Celestial collection, her navy blazer absorbing the glow, her silver locket, a faint glimmer against her chest. The air feels thick, charged with the weight of Margaret Voss's escalating hostility. Angela's dark eyes, sharp with restrained hurt, trace the diamonds she designed, each one a testament to her rise from Atlanta's modest streets to Rodeo Drive's pinnacle. But now in her own sanctuary, she faces a battle she thought she'd left behind, a battle against prejudice, dressed in designer silk. Margaret, her blonde chignon flawless, paces near the VIP section, her heels clicking like a warning. Her earlier threat to have Angela removed hangs heavy, a public wound that stings more for its familiarity. "You're still here," she snaps, her voice cutting through the showroom's hum. "I told you this isn't your place." The words, laced with racial and class disdain, land like blows, assuming Angela's modest attire and blackness mark her as unworthy. Angela's hands clench briefly, the locket cool against her palm, but her face remains a mask of calm. "I'm a customer," she says, her tone measured, each word deliberate. "I'd like to purchase the celestial necklace." Her request, steeped in expertise, should shift the dynamic, but Margaret's eyes narrow, her lips curling into a sneer. "Purchase with what I need proof you can afford it, bank statements, credit limits. Now." The demand is a violation, a public shaming that silences the room. Lila Tran, the young sales associate, freezes behind the counter, her notepad trembling in her hands. She's seen Margaret's bias before: customers of color ignored, staff like her reprimanded for overstepping, but this is a new low. Marcus Reed, the security guard, stands rigid, his jaw tight, his eyes flicking to Angela with a mix of respect and unease. He knows Luminary's policies: no customer should face such scrutiny without evidence of fraud. But Margaret's authority is a chokehold, her glare a promise of consequences. The Langleys, the white VIP couple, glance over their champagne flutes, paused mid-sip, curious but detached, as if watching a performance. Angela feels the weight of every stare, the cultural undercurrent of Rodeo Drive, where wealth and whiteness often dictate dignity. Her heart aches not for herself, but for the betrayal of her vision. Luminary Gems was built to be a haven, a place where no one would feel the sting she endured as a young woman, turned away from stores, her dreams dismissed because of her skin. She thinks of her grandmother, whose calloused hands sewed dresses in Atlanta, whispering, "Hold your head high, Angie." That locket, a motif of her endurance, grounds her now, its weight a reminder of the strength she carries. She could end this charade, reveal her identity, but she waits, her silence a strategy, her resolve a gathering storm. Margaret's hostility surges, fueled by Angela's defiance. "You're wasting everyone's time," she hisses, stepping closer, her voice loud enough to draw every eye. "If you don't leave, I'll have you escorted out for good." The threat is a blade meant to humiliate, to erase Angela's presence. Angela's breath catches a flicker of pain crossing her face, but she stands taller, her shadow stretching across the marble like a quiet challenge. "Is that your policy for all customers?" She asks, her voice soft but piercing, a question that exposes the bias beneath Margaret's words. The room shifts, employees exchanging uneasy glances, customers whispering. Margaret falters, her face flushing, but she doubles down. "It's my policy for you. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." The injustice deepens, a slow poison seeping into the store's gilded air. Lila's eyes brim with tears, her silence a mix of fear and shame. She thinks of her own moments under Margaret's scrutiny, her Vietnamese heritage, a subtle mark against her in this world of curated elegance. Marcus steps forward, his voice low but firm. "Miss Voss, she's just asking to buy. There's no cause for this." Margaret whirls on him, her eyes blazing. "You're out of line, Marcus. One more word and you're done here." Her threat silences the room, a reminder of her power to break livelihoods. But Marcus doesn't flinch, his gaze locking with Angela's, a silent nod of solidarity. Angela feels their courage, fragile but real, and it fuels her. She thinks of her early days selling jewelry from a cramped apartment, her designs mocked by vendors who saw only her race, not her talent. Each rejection built her empire, but also her promise no one would feel unseen in her stores. Yet here Margaret's prejudice is a crack in that foundation, a betrayal that cuts deeper than any personal slight. She touches her locket, its familiar weight in a beacon, and takes a breath. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. Her calm is not surrender, it's a gathering of power, a hint of the strength she's held back. She knows the moment is near when her silence will give way to a reckoning. The showroom feels smaller, the chandelier's light harsher as tension coils like a spring. Margaret's arrogance clashes with Angela's quiet defiance, a standoff that draws every eye. Customers lean closer, their phones discreetly raised, sensing a drama they can't yet name. Lila's pen scratches nervously, her notes abandon, her heart racing with the injustice she witnesses. Marcus stands ready, his presence a quiet anchor, his refusal to act against Angela a small rebellion. The Langleys, now seated in velvet chairs, watch with detached amusement, their privilege a shield from the storm brewing before them. Angela's mind drifts to her grandmother's kitchen, where she first learned to string beads, her small hands guided by love. That memory tied to the locket is a lifeline now, a reminder of why she fought for this empire. She built luminary gems to honor those who believed in her, to create a space where dignity was universal. But Margaret's actions threaten that legacy, a reminder of how fragile progress can be. Angela's eyes trace the celestial necklace, its diamonds a constellation of her dreams, and she feels a spark ignite within her. She's faced worse than Margaret Voss bankers, who laughed at her loans, critics, who called her designs urban and emerged stronger. This moment, though painful, is another test. The cultural weight of Rodeo Drive presses against her, a world where Black women, no matter their achievements, are often forced to prove their worth. Angela knows this truth intimately from job interviews, where her resume was questioned, to boardrooms where her voice was drowned out. But she also knows her power forged in those battles, and it simmers now just beneath her calm. She could walk away as she did in her youth, but not today. Not here, where her legacy hangs in the balance. The locket warms against her chest, a pulse of resolve, and she prepares for the next move. Margaret's voice breaks the silence, a final jab. "You're done here," she declares, gesturing to Marcus. "Get her out or I'll call corporate myself." The threat is a misstep, a crack in Margaret's armor, and Angela's eyes flash with a hint of triumph. She doesn't speak, but her silence is a promise, a gathering storm that will soon break. The showroom holds its breath, the air electric with anticipation. Angela's strength, her quiet power, is a beacon in the opulent dark, a sign that justice is coming. The Luminary Gem showroom teeters on the edge of a storm, its golden chandeliers casting a harsh glow over the marble floor. Angela Hayes stands resolute by the celestial collection, her navy blazer a quiet defiance against the opulence of Rodeo Drive. Her silver locket, a worn heirloom, catches the light, a symbol of her unyielding strength. The air crackles with tension, Margaret Voss's venomous prejudice having pushed the scene to a breaking point. Angela's dark eyes, sharp with restrained fire, meet the manager's glare, her calm a beacon amid the gathering chaos. The injustice, racial classist, personal, has carved a wound in the store's soul, but Angela is no longer just a witness. She is the architect of its reckoning. Margaret, her blonde chignon fraying slightly under pressure, steps closer, her heels snapping against the marble. "You've had your chance," she hisses, her voice loud enough to silence the room. "Leave now or I'll have you arrested for trespassing." The threat, steeped in assumptions about Angela's blackness and modest attire, is a public execution of dignity meant to erase her presence. Customers gasp, their phones raised, capturing the drama. Lila Tran, the young sales associate, clutches her notepad, tears brimming in her eyes, her silence a mix of fear and fury. Marcus Reed, the security guard, stands rigid, his fists clenched, his refusal to act a quiet rebellion against Margaret's orders. Angela's heart pounds, not with fear, but with the weight of this moment. She thinks of her grandmother, whose locket she wears, whispering in their Atlanta kitchen. "Hold your head high, Angie." That memory, a motif of her endurance, anchors her now. She built Luminary Gems to be a sanctuary, a place where no one would feel the sting she endured as a young woman turned away from stores, her worth dismissed because of her skin. But Margaret's prejudice is a betrayal of that promise, a crack in the empire Angela forged from nothing. Her fingers brush the locket, its familiar weight, a pulse of resolve, and she knows the time has come. "I'm not leaving," Angela says, her voice soft but cutting a blade of truth in the gilded air. Margaret scoffs, folding her arms. "You're making a fool of yourself, Marcus, now." She gestures sharply, but Marcus doesn't move, his eyes locked on Angela, a silent nod of respect. The room holds its breath, the chandelier's light flickering as if sensing the shift. Angela reaches into her blazer, her movements deliberate, and pulls out her phone. Her gaze never wavers from Margaret's, a steely resolve that unnerves the manager. "I'm calling corporate now." Angela declares, her words a thunderbolt, each syllable weighted with authority. Margaret's face falters, a flicker of doubt crossing her eyes, but she laughs a brittle sound. Corporate, you go ahead, try. The mockery is her last defense, but Angela's calm is unshakable. She dials the phone's glow, illuminating her face and speaks clearly, her voice ringing through the showroom. This is Angela Hayes, CEO of Luminary Gems. I'm at the Beverly Hills store. I need an emergency board meeting immediately. The words detonate a shock wave that ripples through the room. Margaret's face crumples. Her arrogance shattered, her mouth opening in silent horror. Lila gasps, her notepad falling to the counter. Marcus's eyes widen, a mix of awe and relief. Customers whisper, their phones trembling as they record the moment. Angela stands taller, her shadow stretching across the marble, a figure of quiet power. The locket gleams against her chest, a symbol of the journey that led her here from Atlanta's diners, where she worked double shifts, to boardrooms where she fought for her place. She thinks of every rejection, every door slammed because of her race, and how each one built her empire. But this moment in her own store is a test of that legacy. Margaret's prejudice isn't just personal, it's a violation of the promise Angela made to every customer, every employee, to be seen, to be valued. Margaret staggers back, her hands gripping the display case, her face ashen. No, you can't be, she stammers, her voice breaking. You're the CEO. The question is a plea, a desperate grasp at a reality slipping away. Angela's eyes, cold with disappointment, hold Margaret's. You didn't just insult me, she says, her voice steady, piercing. You insulted every person you've dismissed, every employee you've silenced, every customer you've judged. Luminary Gems stands for fairness, for dignity. You've betrayed that. The words are a verdict delivered with the weight of 20 years of struggle, of building an empire on compassion. The showroom erupts in whispers, customers leaning closer, their videos capturing Margaret's downfall. Lila's tears spill over, not from sadness, but from a dawning hope. She remembers Margaret's snubs, her own heritage, a mark against her, and sees in Angela a strength she longs to emulate. Marcus nods, his jaw relaxing, his respect for Angela, a quiet triumph. The Langleys, seated in their velvet chairs, shift uncomfortably, their privilege exposed in the face of Angela's power. Margaret's eyes dart wildly, seeking an escape, but there is none. Her authority, built on prejudice, lies in ruins. Angela's voice rises, addressing the room. Margaret Voss, effective immediately, you are no longer manager of Luminary Gems Beverly Hills. Gather your belongings and leave. The command is calm but absolute, a restoration of order. Margaret collapses against the counter, tears streaming, her designer dress, no shield against her shame. Please, Miss Hayes, she sobs, her voice ragged. I didn't know. I have a family. But Angela shakes her head, her gaze unflinching. You had countless chances to choose fairness. You chose prejudice instead. That's on you. The room falls silent, the weight of justice settling over the opulent space. Margaret stumbles toward the back, her heels unsteady, her sword echoing in the once pristine showroom. Customers lower their phones, some nodding in approval, others stunned by the swiftness of her fall. Angela touches her locket, its warmth a reminder of her grandmother's faith, and feels a quiet triumph. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled, and today that truth has reshaped her store. She looks to Lila and Marcus, their eyes bright with relief, and knows this moment is bigger than her. It's for every person who's been unseen, their worth denied. The cultural weight of Rodeo Drive, where wealth often masks bias, feels lighter now, as if Angela's stand has cracked its facade. She thinks of her early days, sketching designs by lamplight, her grandmother's locket, her only companion. That locket, a motif of her resilience, has carried her through this storm, a symbol of the dignity she's fought for. The showroom, once a battleground, feels like hers again, its promise of fairness restored. But the fight isn't over. Angela knows this moment must ripple outward, a beacon for change. Marcus steps forward, his voice low. I'll escort her out, Ms. Hayes. Angela nods, her eyes warm with gratitude. Thank you, Marcus, for standing firm. Lila wipes her tears, her voice trembling. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. Angela smiles, a quiet reassurance. You're here now, Lila. That's enough. The employee's courage, fragile but real, mirrors Angela's own, a reminder that justice begins with small acts. As Margaret's figure disappears through the back door, the showroom exhales its golden light, softer, its air clearer. Angela's triumph is not revenge. It's a restoration of dignity, a promise kept. The Luminary Gems showroom breathes anew, its golden chandeliers casting a softer glow across the marble floor, as if the space itself has shed a heavy shroud. Angela Hayes stands in the center, her navy blazer absorbing the light, her silver locket a quiet beacon against her chest. The storm of Margaret Voss's prejudice has passed, leaving a stillness that hums with possibility. Employees move with cautious hope, their eyes bright with relief, while customers linger their whispers now, of admiration rather than scandal. Angela's revelation as CEO, her swift justice against Margaret, has cracked open the store's gilded facade, exposing its flaws and igniting a promise of change. Her dark eyes, once sharp with restrained fire, now carry a serene resolve, a quiet triumph rooted in decades of resilience. Angela steps toward the Celestial Collection, her fingers brushing the display case where the necklace she designed gleams like a constellation. She thinks of her grandmother, whose locket she wears sewing late into the night in their Atlanta kitchen, her voice a steady mantra. Hold your head high, Angie. That locket, a motif of her endurance, has carried her through this reckoning. Its weight a reminder of the dignity she's fought for, not just for herself, but for every soul who's felt unseen. The showroom, once a battleground of bias, feels like hers again, its promise of fairness restored. But Angela knows this moment is a beginning, not an end. The cultural weight of Rodeo Drive, where wealth and whiteness often dictate worth, lingers, a challenge she's faced since her youth. Lila Tran, the young sales associate, approaches hesitantly, her notepad tucked under her arm, her eyes still glistening from tears. "Ms. Hayes," she says, her voice trembling, but earnest, "I want to be better for this store for you." Angela smiles, a warmth that eases Lila's nerves. "You already are, Lila. Your kindness is what Luminary needs." She places a hand on Lila's shoulder, a gesture of trust that makes the young woman stand taller. Lila thinks of her own struggles, her Vietnamese heritage, a subtle mark against her in Margaret's eyes, and sees in Angela a path forward, a strength she can emulate. Angela's words echo in her mind, a promise that fairness isn't just a policy, but a way of being. Marcus Reed, the security guard, stands by the entrance, his posture relaxed but proud. His refusal to follow Margaret's orders, his quiet nod of solidarity, was a small rebellion that Angela hasn't forgotten. "Marcus," she calls, her voice steady, "you showed courage today. I'm promoting you to head of security training for all Luminary stores. Your integrity will shape our future." Marcus's eyes widen, a flicker of emotion crossing his face. "Thank you, Ms. Hayes," he says, his voice thick. "I just did what felt right." Angela nods, her gaze warm. "That's exactly why you're the one for this." Marcus thinks of his own past years of being profiled, his uniform a shield and a target, and feels a weight lift knowing his stand mattered. Angela turns to Kevin Brooks, a young employee who hovered nervously during the confrontation. His loyalty to Luminary's values tested, but unbroken. "Kevin," she says, her tone firm but kind, "you're interim manager until we find a permanent replacement. Lead with fairness, always." Kevin's face lights up, pride mingling with disbelief. "I won't let you down." "Ms. Hayes," he vows, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Angela's trust in him and all of them is a spark that rekindles the store's spirit. The employees exchange glances, their fear of Margaret's reign replaced by a shared purpose, a belief that they can rebuild what was broken. The showroom hums with renewed energy, customers now approaching with questions, their hesitance gone. A middle-aged black woman who watched the drama unfold steps forward, her eyes shining. "I came here to feel special," she says softly, "and you made that happen, Ms. Hayes." Angela smiles, her heart swelling. "That's what Luminary is for," she replies, her voice a quiet vow. The woman's words echo Angela's mission, forged in her early days when she sold jewelry from a folding table, her designs a rebellion against a world that dismissed her. Each piece in this store, each interaction is meant to honor that fight. Angela walks the showroom, straightening a velvet box, adjusting a chair, her movements deliberate, a restoration of order. These small acts are her way of reclaiming the space, of weaving fairness back into its fabric. She thinks of her journey from Atlanta's modest streets, where she was turned away from stores, to boardrooms, where her voice was questioned. Each rejection built her empire, but also her promise no one would feel less than in her stores. Today's reckoning, though painful, has strengthened that vow. The locket warms against her chest, a pulse of her grandmother's faith, and she knows this moment will ripple outward, a beacon for change. The cultural weight of Rodeo Drive, where privilege often masks prejudice, feels lighter now as if Angela's stand has shifted its foundation. She thinks of the broader fight in workplaces, communities, a nation built on second chances but scarred by bias. Her triumph is not revenge, but a restoration of dignity, a reminder that true power lies in compassion, not cruelty. As the showroom quiets, employees moving with purpose, Angela pauses by the celestial collection, her reflection mingling with the diamonds. She sees not just the CEO, but the girl who dreamed big, the woman who refused to break. This store, this moment is her legacy reborn. The sun dips low, casting long shadows through the glass doors, and Angela lingers, her hand resting on the display case. In a nation built on second chances, where progress is hard-won and fragile, she knows the work continues. But today, she's proven that standing firm against bias, even at personal cost, can restore honor. Her employees, her customers, carry that truth now, a light that will shine beyond these walls. The locket, a symbol of her endurance, rests gently against her heart, a quiet promise kept. True success, she knows, is not in the diamonds that glitter, but in the dignity upheld, the justice served, the compassion shared.